what you have going on behind the scenes is people trading secrets,
right?
Exchanging information for other information. And that's how a lot of this information is intersecting together and in tune also connecting the dots. So when that comes public and people start seeing that the dots are connecting on the back end of corroborating other things that have already been disclosed compared to new information that may even further corroborate things that have already been disclosed. So
when you mean they're trading information back and forth, could you explain that to us?
Right. So a lot of these groups, like, being involved with yourself at certain points of time, you understand that you are only focused on one particular project you're working on. You don't know what other person is doing that may be in the same facility, right? What happens is now people start to kind of try to trade secrets to say, hey, what are you working on? This is what I'm working on. And that's how they intersect and basically connect the dots on the back end. And then when you have people that come forward on that aspect in the public view that talk about it, now it starts to connect those dots.
You mentioned compartmentalization, Mike. Could you break down that structure for us?
Think of it kind of like a grid. Every single material or any kind of faction, if you will, would essentially be working on one particular thing that they may be their strengths involved with that. They may be their better understanding. Then they have a different department working on some other aspect that may suit their needs better with specific people read into that may have the skill sets. I personally, I cannot attest to the structure on that, but I can say that people can probably have a generalization of like a grid and every project put into a single square, and that's how it's compartmentalized.
Is the government part of these programs, or does it fall under the military-industrial complex, like those corporations you mentioned?
It's mainly under the MIC or military-industrial complex. Now, there is government involvement with that, because what people have to understand is the MIC is funded by the government.
Exactly, right.
So
glad you said that.
It's integrated in with each other, but the difference is you have people who are read up on how this works that are a part of it because they need to use these people to get the correct funding and even the materials and even the people involved that may be able to be bribed by money or even coerced in some other ways to work for the MIC while still carrying a rank in the military or even associated with any kind of projects that are blue projects or gray projects and even black projects.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that, Mike. What about the black projects and the deep black projects that you mentioned? Could you define those two for us?
So black projects are acknowledged by Congress and the Senate, as well as the White House Military Office, along with the President of the United States. They have some sort of awareness to that. And all that means is that they are okay with allocating funds of taxpayer money to this said project. They don't know the details of it. They just know that this project is going to cost in excess of $450 million, for example. And it may be some experimental aircraft, it may be some new drone, or it may be a weapon system that they have yet to disclose to the public. A deep black project means that some of the black projects that are acknowledged do not cost that much to actually build. And what happens is, let's say if it's $450 million when it actually only costs $100 million, the rest of that money gets funneled down to a deep black project that nobody, unless you're read into that project specifically on the back end, you're not in Congress, you're not in the Senate, you're not a president, you will have no knowledge that that exists. And they keep it compartmentalized that way while taking the funds from that black budget.
Understood, understood. Could you give us an example, Mike, of a deep black project?
Deep black project, well, let's talk about crash retrievals.
There you go.
That is a deep black project.
Sure is.
And that is something that's off the books. Now, the government has their own version of that, or the blue team, if you will, that use military assets to do that, such as what has been public already, what I've disclosed, which is Joint Special Operations Command participating in with that, among other special operations components that are doing the crash retrievals. But the problem is they're handing over those materials to these private sectors. And that's how they keep it under wraps. So of course, you know how debriefing goes with top secret sensitive compartmented information. That basically gets scrubbed. These teams already then take control of it. Nobody knows what happened and nobody knows what the extent of it unless you're on that deep black organization.
Where does the funding come for these secret projects?
So it's internal because they want to keep these facilities as well as these projects self-funding. So they have their own ways of a funding mechanism behind the scenes. So when they're working on behind the scenes of actually retrieving material, they may be selling weapons, they may be selling secrets, they may be selling narcotics to different countries, things like that. On top of funneling funds from the black projects that are legal, So they try to be self-sufficient, but the only thing that they need is the guaranteed funding from the government aspect of it.